Oh, I forgot to tell you that. Hey, Rick Yaklin here, creator and host of Dying a Detroit Lions Fan. We're going to do something a little different tonight again. This is my first time of having a guest, and we're going to record both a video cast and a podcast at the same time. My guest tonight is Don. He's a Detroit Lions fan, diehard, supposedly, like myself. I'm not going to destroy his last name.
I've got the scars to prove it.
Yeah, me too. I've been drunk enough too.
Right.
But I'm going to let him introduce himself and give you his real last name so I don't butcher it. And tell us a little bit about you too, like where you're from, that type of thing.
Yeah, my name's Don Zelichowski. I've been a Lions fan ever since I can remember. I live in Battle Creek, Michigan, and root for him from this side of the state, and that's about it.
Okay, Don. One other thing. You say you're from Battle Creek. Do you get over to any games during the course of the year?
Oh, yeah, I try and get to a couple games a year. Usually I get to one of the preseason games, and then we kind of make a night out of it because they're usually night games.
Right.
So make a night out of it, stay in town, party, have a good time.
Do you take the wife with you, or is this the boys' night?
Took the wife a couple times, and then last year I took 3 of my buddies, and we just burned the town down. So it was awesome.
That's fun. I enjoy staying at the MGM if I go down something like that.
Right.
But something we can bring back a little bit later and talk about. But I want to do some live podcasts this year, and I want to do a podcast like a pregame from the entrance area of the stadium.
Sure.
I've got banners and a couple things made, or I think they're going to be made, that I can put a couple polls up and kind of do some interviewing and polling people back and forth. I might take my son with me so I don't have to use like a tripod for a camera, but let him actually man the camera. And who knows, maybe we can hook up to go to a game like that, or not really go to the game, but meet there and spend the day there.
Sure, sounds good.
And then maybe go to a bar after the game starts, watch the game there, but record from the bar too with patrons.
Oh man, that'd be nice.
You know, so there's something different to think about. Something to think about different, and maybe something we can arrange down the road. Whoops, of course I go and slip down. You mentioned that you're a fan. You're definitely younger than me, but I've been a fan I'm 64 years old, so ever since I was born. The only thing different is I don't remember 1957 being a year old.
Right.
So, my life has been miserable as a Lions fan, and I want to ask you a question in regards to how you feel about Stafford. In joining a number of the Facebook groups, I'm kind of surprised at how many fans out there think that Stafford's the issue with this team.
Right. Yeah, and I'm surprised at the same thing. I've been a fan I'm 49, so I've been a fan ever since I can remember. I'll give you a little history on myself. Back in the day when Wayne Fonts was there, I used to write him letters. And I would write him a letter, probably 1 letter a year or something like that, or a couple letters a year. I think I ended up writing him probably 2 or 3 letters a year, but I think I ended up writing him 11 letters, and he wrote me back 7 times.
Well, that's cool.
Now, I wish I had those letters still, but I don't. I don't know. They're buried somewhere, somewhere in the basement or something like that. But in all that time, Stafford is by far the most talented, most durable quarterback and leader that we've had. Now, has he won in Detroit? No, he hasn't won in Detroit. But who are we going to throw in there? Who would you pick up right now that would take his spot, that would win with this talent, that would win with this culture, win with this,
Well, you said a key word there, culture.
Yes.
And that is the biggest issue. And to piggyback on Wayne Fonts, in one of my first podcast episodes, I went and kind of chronologicalized the history of the Detroit Lions.
Sure.
And I went from everything from owners, general managers, coaches, everything. And in reality, Fonts, he was 1 game below 500 when it came down to coaching, wins and losses.
Okay.
but the team played for him. And
they loved him.
Yeah, I mean, he was a hell of a guy. He was fun as a sports fan to see the off-field antics he got himself into.
Oh, sure.
And
right.
But the players played for him and stuff, and they were an exciting team back in the day. And even
it was fun to watch. You knew they'd be competitive on Sunday.
Yeah, it was fun to watch their games. You never, they would lose games in the last 3 minutes like they do now, but you know they were going to put up a fight. They were going to be in a game.
Absolutely.
So
now this culture that they have now, I think we got to give it a minute. You don't bring a guy in from a proven winner, a perennial winner like New England, and think that he just doesn't know what he's doing. I think there's more of an issue with players that don't want to play under that type of leadership, let's say. And I think that's why, we all make fun of them bringing in all these New England guys. That's why they bring these New England guys in, because those guys know exactly what's expected of them. And maybe you're not a Patricia fan or a Quinn fan. I don't know. I have my moments too, but it's been 2 years, and I think we got to give him at least this year and see where it goes. But I also want to see players play for him. It pains me that a Pro Bowler like Darius Slay folded almost. I know we weren't big, behind the scenes here, but to me, it almost sounds like he folded a little bit when challenged by the coach.
Okay, but you mentioned about the culture and bringing the culture in and changing the culture. I agree that could be difficult. Mm-hmm. The only problem I have is I really don't have a whole lot of confidence in Quinn or Patricia.
Oh, okay.
I really think Patricia was a defensive coordinator in title only. I think he sucked up to Bill Belichick, and Bill Belichick was the brain of the Patriots and always has been. And I think that Patricia just followed Bill's lead and sucked on his ass in order to stay where he was for as long as he did. His ego is what ruined him, in my opinion, his first year in Detroit, because if you go back and if you remember columns that were written, he couldn't even make it to meetings on time. He'd have meetings set up and not be there on time. And so I can see where players lost respect in the very beginning, because respect is earned. It's not something you're going to demand.
Absolutely.
And so from that standpoint, I'm not real gung-ho on Patricia. And you mentioned bringing in New England players. Some players I can see, but in the last 2 years in particularly, they're bringing in guys that are done. They're on their last contract and they're signing their last contract in the NFL.
Well, I agree with you, but I think some of that is strategic. I think some of that is trying to bring some of these guys in so that they can help mentor and change this culture into what Patricia is trying to create in Detroit, as far as, the Belichick clone culture. But no, I agree. I think it bothers me when I see these articles about guys like the one that just come out with Snacks.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of that is taken out of context also, but to hear any player say, man, I couldn't wait to get the hell out of there.
Well, I can see it.
I don't like that, and that bothers me. And I really wonder what goes on behind the scenes in that clubhouse, in that organization, to make these guys just hate being there.
Well, I think you can learn something. I don't know, not necessarily learn something, but you'll get a good idea. The handling of Darius Slay and the release of Darius Slay. And when he came out and said that he had no respect for Patricia from day one when he got called out in a meeting room, number one, a head coach doesn't call a player out like that in a meeting room. Number two, if he's going to call him out, he's going to set it up ahead of time. And he's not going to make a comment sexually relating to him as a player. So that was a big red flag to me. And I
think you brought up a good point. Respect is earned, and win some stuff there, and then you call out any player you want.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I agree.
there's stories about Belichick calling Brady out in front of everybody, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But he's already got, you know, at the time, a couple Super Bowls under his belt, you know.
Right.
So I mean,
He's
like,
been an NFL coach for umpteen years too in different organizations.
Right. So how do you argue with that? I mean, when a coach of that stature calls you out, okay, you know.
But if you go back to the Slate thing for just a second more, that debacle ended up making Detroit a laughingstock nationally. And I don't know if you watch Get Up in the Morning and some of the other programs that are on ESPN.
Yeah.
And actually, even Fox Sports, Colin Collard did a thing on it. And they just turned around and lambasted Patricia in regards to handling of players.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you got to earn respect, but you got to give respect in order to get respect.
Yeah, I agree. And unfortunately, all that negative press and, you know, some of these players with their sound bites as they're walking out the door, it doesn't help when it's free agency time and we're trying to bring in talent.
I agree 100%. And
that's the bad part.
Let's shift gears for just a second and get off Patricia's ass.
Sure.
I don't know which groups you're in on Facebook when it comes down to the Detroit Lion fan groups, but I really am surprised at the number of people that, besides hating on Stafford, are all for trading him and going with the rookie quarterback now, drafting Tua or Herbert or whoever. And I just don't understand their logic whatsoever.
I think people are grasping at straws a little bit, number one. But number two, I think when you look, I mean, if you really drill down and read some of the comments on there. Now, I'm not a pro coach or any type of coach right now, you know, as far as, you know, being qualified to say this maybe. But you drill down in some of those comments and you read some of that stuff and you think, man, this guy he wouldn't know a football if it hit him upside the head. You know, so some of those comments in there I just gloss over and disregard because they really don't know what they're talking about. You know, Stafford was having the best year of his career last year before he got hurt.
Granted.
And that's saying something because he's had some really good years, you know, where I thought he should have definitely been in the Pro Bowl over some of these turds that they throw in there.
Well, my little history lesson, Stafford is the franchise's leading quarterback in all categories.
Absolutely.
The next one to him is Bobby Lane.
Right.
And look how far back that is. Okay, that tells you the revolving door of quarterbacks this team has had, from Charlie Batch, Eric Kramer,
sure,
Danielson, Hipple. It's just ridiculous.
Now, if you think about it, if you really study his numbers, let's say the guy, you know, I'm going to say he has at least 5 more healthy, good years in him.
Oh, I would say so.
So let's say he plays 5. Let's say he plays 7 more years. What do his numbers look like? Are they Hall of Fame caliber? I mean, Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl.
Okay, let me give you this through you a little bit.
No.
Stafford's career records right now through the 2019 season. 3,559 completions out of 5,696 attempts.
Right.
Completing at 62%. Bobby Lane, who was second on the list, his completion percentage was only 49%. But it was a different ball back in the era, so let's give him that credit. His yardage his yardage so far is 41,025 yards. Bobby Lane, who is number 2, had 15,700.
Right.
Stafford has got 256 touchdowns, 134 interceptions. Nobody on this list has got more touchdowns than interceptions. Bobby Lane is the closest with 118 TDs and 142 interceptions.
Right.
So Stafford's going on his 11th year. He's written all the books in Detroit.
Yep.
And people are wanting to dump the guy. I mean, it
boggles my, you know, then here's the other thing. Okay, let's this seems to be the elephant in the room in a lot of these Facebook pages and stuff.
Yeah.
So I see, just like you said, we got to with trade back and we'll trade Stafford, and who cares about his cap hit? We'll get Tua because he's the best ever, right? Well, we had a defense last year that couldn't stop a JV football team, okay? They couldn't stop anybody. And so why in the hell would we waste a number 3 pick on a guy that's probably going to sit behind the franchise quarterback we already have, who very well could have a career year this year if he's healthy? That is a wasted pick on a team that has a
glaring need,
basically a standing order for Martha Ford to win now.
Right.
You got a coach and a GM that are scared shitless about their job, and why would we waste that pick? To me, that's maybe for the future that'd be great, but for the future, for a team that wins 10 games a year, that would be a good pick.
Yeah, but you realize that the name of my program is Dying a Detroit Lion Fan.
Right.
I'm 64. I don't have that many years left to go through rebuild after rebuild, but I'd rather go through a rebuild right now with Stafford as my quarterback and have to go through the whole front end management staff again than I would with turning around and starting with a rookie quarterback.
And I think we're a lot closer than people think. We lead 14 of 16 games last year.
Exactly. And
15 of 16. I mean,
if you really turned around, and last year, I'm into fantasy football a lot also. I don't know if you are.
I played the single week game.
Oh, I do that, but I also do the year-long ones and stuff like that too. But I can't tell you, last year was probably the worst year that I can remember, that I always knew week after they tied in the first game of the season.
That was a heartbreaker, man.
Yeah.
No, man.
I knew terrible. No matter what they did in the last 3 minutes of the game, the defense was going to blow it for them.
Yeah,
that's exactly what happened almost game after game after game.
Absolutely, and it was predictable and it was terrible. It just was heart-wrenching. You almost wanted to just turn the TV off and read it in the paper the next day.
Okay, I was going to mention about the fantasy thing. I turn around and I've got 2 TVs in my living room, so that I could have the Lions on a 65-inch screen, okay? And then I got a 42-inch screen that I have on another arm close to my front door that I put the red zone on so I could keep up with all my fantasy things.
All right.
And the Lions would ultimately get so pissy at me. I get so pissed at them, I'd switch the TVs around and I'd put the fantasy stuff over on the big screen and watch the Lions on the little. But hey, I'm going to turn around and stop the recording on the podcast for a second, just because I want to get a break in there. But we're not going anywhere. We'll be right back. It'll only take us a couple seconds to do that.
Sounds good.
Okay, for the anchor people on podcast, we are back. And okay, Don, we can continue.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: you've got the passions that I have when it comes down to wanting to see them win. But you mentioned the ultimatum from Mrs. Ford. Do you really think she gives a shit about this team?
Well, I think that's been the popular thing, for the last several years, especially when the old man was alive still, please sell the team. You don't care.
Right.
Stuff. I think they care. I just don't know if they know how to choose the right people to run this thing. And,
well, you know what? Ford, though, ran the automobile industry, so he did something right.
Oh, sure, he did.
But the only thing that I question big time there is when all the other automobile manufacturers went to the government for bailouts, Ford never did.
Right.
And I really believe the only reason Ford did not do that could have been that antitrust could have been involved because of him owning the franchise. And number 2, he had so much money coming in from the NFL, even back then, that he was able to keep his, the Ford Motor Company afloat. So, that's my own little conspiracy theory there. Mrs. Ford, You know, she might have been someone that went to a ball game occasionally, but I guarantee you she wasn't at every game. And I was appalled when they showed the women of the NFL last year and they included her in that.
Oh, really?
She has got no business being in it. She's not a McCaskey from the Chicago Bears that's been around forever. She's not Norma Hunt. She's not Mrs. Rooney. Those people have been in the NFL and been active for years. Mrs. Ford never was. All she wants is money. And I really have no respect for her whatsoever. And her daughters now being on the board with her.
Oh,
I'd rather see Bill Jr. on the board, even though he was the one that fought to get Matt Millen brought in as general manager. It's just, you know, to sell the team back behind me there, you know, it's like, please do get somebody in here that wants to win. I don't care if they move the franchise out of Detroit. If they move it to Grand Rapids, I think that'd be great. They just need to get somebody in here that's going to demand a winner and is going to turn around and actually make it be a reality that mediocrity will not be accepted. And if Bob Quinn can come in his first year and has Patricia go 9-7, or excuse me, Caldwell go 9-7, and tell him that's not good enough, and in the 2 years since then, be what, 6-22-1? Yeah, okay. I really see how this is going.
It's it's a little painful. And I liked Caldwell. I'm not sure he was taking them any further than he did. Now, is 9-7 acceptable? Maybe for us Lions fans, you know, because it's better than 3.
He made some playoffs 2 out of 3 years.
Well, that's true too. That's true too. So,
and the players played for him. The players played for him.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they did like him. So, yeah, I have a hard time arguing with you about that. I guess I'm an optimist with this crew here, and
I wish I could be. I'm hoping they turn around and fire Patricia by the end of the first month of the season, so that Quinn knows he's done too, because they're tied together now.
Yeah.
And I'd rather see them, even though I was scared to death about Bevel coming in as offensive coordinator. I was afraid he's going to try and make it be pound the ball like Seattle.
Right.
But I think he has at least opened up the idea that he's got a quarterback that's pretty damn good. Right. So let's make him our focal point. But we do need to run the ball a little bit, and we need to get a running back. There's no doubt about that. But I'd rather see them move him to an interim head coach for the rest of the year, because I think the team would play for them at that point. Because I know the team respects Matt Stafford.
Right.
So I think that would be, you know, the great thing. I mean, I wish I had your enthusiasm for, you know, let's give it one more year and see what happens. It's just
well, I mean, we don't have
4 years. I've seen his handwriting on the wall too many times.
Yeah. Well, I guess by the one more year thing, we don't have a choice. He's the coach right now. So
currently.
Unless they make a change, you know, we don't have a choice. So you know, that kind of brings me to when people like on these Facebook posts and stuff argue about, you know, this guy or that guy, especially during the preseason when they're talking about cuts and this and that. And, you know, you got to worry about this name right here.
Yeah.
Front of the jersey. You know, not the name on the back. I don't give a shit who's in the uniform, I guess. You know, I love Matt Stafford, but, you know, I really like the name on the front of the uniform, not the back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
As long as they're winning. If they win, then throw the guys out there that are going to win. So,
I agree. I mean, I've been fortunate enough that I've got to travel around the country in my job, work life, okay?
Okay.
And having an opportunity to be in Atlanta and see the Falcons when the Falcons were terrible. But it was good to see them. In LA, of course, I got to see the Rams before they moved out of town.
Okay.
I went down to a couple of Chargers games. Chargers games were fun. And the fan bases, though, around the country, other than Detroit, seem to be more solidified when it comes down to being supportive for the whole team, not just a player or whatever the case may be. And
Really?
maybe that's just the fact that Detroit has been such a perennial loser. People are just giving up hope.
See, I've wondered about that. I've wondered about these other cities and stuff and how they approach their teams versus how we do. You know, we have some fair weather fans sometimes, you know,
Yeah.
and you know, all the players usually say, you know, that we got the greatest fans and this and that of any place they've been, but man, sometimes you sit in those stands and it's hard to think that because you got guys wearing Detroit jerseys that are rooting against them half the time. You know,
that can happen pretty easily when they turn around and give up a 14-point lead in 2 minutes.
Sure, I know, but you know, it's tough. It gets tough sometimes. But so let me ask you about the upcoming draft here. Now, it seems to me that you know, all these so-called experts, they have us having to replace Darius Slay.
Yeah.
I just don't see it that way. I really don't. We have – think about you go down the defensive roster right now. Show me one playmaker. We don't have one.
No, we traded both of them.
Well, we did.
Quinn and Slay.
But I think the only guy that we have that's any semblance of a playmaker right now is probably Jamie Collins, and he hasn't even put a uniform on yet.
Maybe Flowers too.
So, but
Flowers is getting kind of up in age, but I think he might be able to help a little bit.
Right. I think you know, I posted on one of the Facebook pages yesterday a question: does a strong front seven help a weak secondary more so than a strong secondary help a weak front seven? And I think definitely the answer, and most of the answers that I got on there from these people, you know, that chimed in, there was lots of people that chimed in on it. They said just what I think: a strong front seven. If you're putting pressure on that quarterback, you can have some holes in the secondary that you can kind of put Band-Aids over, as long as you're rushing that quarterback. And I think at that number 3 spot, I really think if they pass on Isaiah Simmons,
I agree.
That's
exactly what I was going to say. I'd rather see them take Simmons.
Oh my God!
Turn around and take Okura or whatever his name.
Right. I've seen someone posted something about Okuda and how these high pick first round cornerbacks never seem to work out. And the last one that got picked really high, I guess, was Greedy Williams.
Maybe.
I don't remember where he went or, you know, what team he went to, but I believe he was out of LSU. And then the guy starts, you know, talking, you know, he wrote a couple paragraphs on there and he started talking about the numbers, comparing Okuda to Greedy Williams. Greedy Williams had 3 times the interceptions, like 2 times the amount of pass defenses, you know, all this stuff, far and away better than Okuda, with the same, just about the same amount of games played in college. And Williams hasn't done anything, and I don't even know what team he plays for.
Me neither, to be honest with you. I remember the name, but I couldn't tell you where he's at.
You know, are we gonna mortgage a farm on a cornerback that history says may not make it on this team? You know, are we gonna get a guy that plays multiple positions that in my opinion is going to make an impact on this game over the next 10 years, similar to maybe the amount of impact that Lawrence Taylor made on the Giants?
Exactly.
And I'm not saying this guy is going to be Lawrence Taylor.
Right.
But I think this guy is a combination of Polamalu and Lawrence Taylor kind of all wrapped into one.
My only problem with that is the fact that I'm not sure that Patricia is the guy that can put him in position to be successful. Because I think he is not competent enough to put defensive players in their best position to succeed. I think he wants them to play his brand of ball and will not take into consideration what they do. And if we stay with that pick, number 3, in my mind, I would love to see them trade with Miami and let Miami have the quarterback of their choice, We know we're assuming Chase Young is going number 2. Let Miami take the Lions 3rd. They get the 5th. The Giants supposedly are big on offensive line help to protect Daniel.
Right.
So now the Lions can swoop in, and both Simmons and Okudah should be available there. But if the Lions were smart, they would take Simmons with number 5, right, and then picking up the Lions going to get 2 firsts out of Miami.
What's
the other one would be
5 and 18?
Okay. I think. So at 18, there's going to be cornerbacks available at that level that they can go ahead and pick up. So they're killing 2 birds of need by swapping and dropping 2 spots. I think that would make sense to me.
Yeah, and my only, I'm such a Simmons fan, so.
I agree.
My only concern would be the Giants going, hey, we can't pass on this guy. I think they need a left tackle bad.
Yeah, they're going to take an offensive lineman. They've got to have that. So I feel really safe that they wouldn't turn around and take Simmons. I think they're definitely going to stick around, and they're going to take the offensive lineman to protect Daniel. And,
now here's the X factor though. Does Miami believe that we may take a quarterback? If they don't think we're going to take a quarterback, they don't want to trade with us. Who cares?
Well, no, because San Diego might.
Oh, that's true.
So I mean, that's where they get the kick. And you know what? I wouldn't be so opposed with San Diego either. That's only dropping 1 more spot.
Is that they're picking 6th?
Yep.
Okay.
So I mean, you're still going to have a good shot at getting Simmons. Maybe not as good as if you would have got him at 3 or 5. Okay. Are these 6th or 7th though? I think they are 6th.
Something. Yeah,
so if they jump in and you go 1 for 6, Miami's still going to take a quarterback. Giants are still going to take an offensive lineman. You should still have both those players available.
Sure. Yeah, you're probably right.
I don't think you're going to be able. I don't think San Diego has enough trade capital to give you another number 1. You're going to get 2nd round or 3rd round picks to go along with it, maybe a future one.
Right.
But I do think that somebody's going to take. If the Lions were smart, if Quinn was smart, he would trade out of that pick if he could.
How about a trade for swap 1st round picks with San Diego and Joey Bosa?
That'd never happen.
Probably not. Probably not.
I mean, that would be wonderful, but no. Bosa is solidified as their defensive guru from here on in.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Joey Bosa fan anyway, but he's better than anything we got on our team. So.
Oh hell yeah, no doubt about that. What are your plans for draft day next week? What are you planning on doing?
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm on lockdown, so
we are too. I'm in Flint, so trust me, I know.
I got lots of free time right now, so I don't know. I'm pretty excited about it. What does it start next Wednesday or Thursday, right?
Next Thursday.
It's Thursday,
and then you got 4 days in a row of draft.
Yeah. So
and
I usually try and watch every minute of it every year. So
yeah,
that's
I mean,
what I do.
My big thing for me is go stock up on a couple cases of beer.
Right.
Get myself some kind of like sloppy joes or something like that made up so I can munch.
Right.
And
absolutely
sit back and kind of like wait till they give a commercial. Let my dog go out occasionally.
Right.
But we used to own a bar here in town.
Oh, and, all right.
So
man after my own heart.
Yeah. But that's where my fantasy football stuff came from, because everybody in the bar goes back to like the early 2000s when fantasy football started coming out. We started doing our own drafts, and we get the big draft board and stuff like that, and we would have everybody get together. And hell, it would take us 4 or 5 hours to go through a 12-team draft, okay?
Right.
But we had so much fun with it. We've kept it going, and some of my leagues go back that far that I've gotten out.
Oh, wow.
So we've had to lose some people over the years. I mean, age catches up with many of us.
Sure.
And but it's still something that's kind of cool. And I kind of like to watch the draft in a lot of in detail, because in the fantasy things, when the rankings come out for fantasy football in the late summer,
Right.
they'll have some rookies thrown in there. But if you listen to Kuiper and McShay and some of the analysts that are ex-office, front office execs,
Sure.
you might pick up a couple of players that no one's going to think about that you just stash on your little like want list. And towards the end of the draft that you have, you pick a couple of these people up and no one knows who the hell they are.
Right.
And they end up helping you quite a bit. And if not, they end up being free agents and you pick them up anyways. So I really do enjoy the drafts. And our bar used to just, we were packed when it came down to watching the draft. I mean, once the Lions pick was over, you know, people would either bitch and moan or they're all happy. So either people drank a lot more or they drank a lot more because they were sad. But they'd come back the next day and watch the remaining drafts, the remaining rounds. I mean, it wasn't like it is now. It was one round here, then, I don't know what, 2 more, 3 more rounds, then finish up on Sunday.
Right.
It used to be like a 2-day affair and that was it. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the draft, and I can't wait in reality to see what is plastered around on the Facebook groups in regards to no matter what Detroit does. Because you're going to have people bitching, you're going to have people being excited, and I don't know, I guess maybe my age, I'm just to the point now where I like stirring the pot a little bit. And like I said, I've seen a lot, and I can back up most of my thoughts with statistics of just looking at the Lions in the last 61 years. And I kind of enjoy poking the bear a little bit, and you know, and getting some conversation going. And I really, you know, mentioned you sent me a message yesterday after I posted about looking for a female, because I want a female's perception of a Lions fan, what they really thought, what was their key, or what were their hot buttons that made them become Detroit Lion fans, and did they really pay attention to the draft, or are they fair weather, whatever the case may be.
Right.
And I had a couple of women reach out to me, and then one of them, my post got deleted. And so I'm thinking, man, did I make it be sexist or something? You know, I didn't think I did, you know, but
no,
I don't really know.
I remember it did seem pretty politically correct, you know, so.
Yeah, I mean, I really wanted like the input. I know what most men are going to say. I wanted to see the input from a female's perspective, because there's nobody in my life that I was ever married to, and I've been married 3 times, or ever dated, that were football fans. I mean, to them, Sundays, they would just go do their own thing because they knew I was locked in a chair from, you know, noon until whenever, you know.
Right.
So, but I'm happy you joined me today. And now that we got hooked up, maybe we can do this again after the draft, and you know, kind of throw both of our ideas as to what we thought might have been good or bad, whatever the case may be. I'm not really ready to go yet, but I'm going to want to turn around and hit the pause button on the podcast, just so I can give that another break. It just makes it easier for me to upload. So if you got time to stick around, we can go through some more stuff. Just let me stop this for a second. We'll come right back.
Yeah.
Okay. Be right back with you. Okay. For the folks that are listening to the podcast, Rick is back with Don. We are going to wrap up this last section of today's podcast and VideoCast. So if you want to see what faces look like, you can go to YouTube and look up Dying a Detroit Lions Fan, and you can subscribe and watch the video, in addition, of course, to listening on the podcast, which is now found on 8 different platforms, including iTunes. So, Don,
Nice.
you come up with the next couple questions, and we'll go from there.
Oh boy, next couple questions. We gonna have a football season?
Gosh,
That's
a
no.
that's a tough.
We could talk about all this stuff we want.
Yeah.
So, and unfortunately, it just might not matter.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I'm devastated because if that's the case, I'm not even a large NBA fan or baseball fan any longer.
Right.
NCAA fan I am for basketball, but having that canceled, I'm going stir crazy not having sports to watch.
Yeah.
And if football leaves, I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be drunk most of the time because I mean, it's just I can only mow my lawn so many times, and,
I don't know. There's and it takes up. It's taken up so much of my life.
Yeah.
Like when I'm so excited when fall comes around and football season.
Yeah.
You can just smell it in the air, and it's just going to be heartbreaking.
Yeah.
This year.
Okay, I'll bring up another bad subject. You a State fan or Michigan fan?
I'm Irish, baby.
Oh, okay, I can live with that. I can live with Notre Dame.
I'm Irish.
Better than U of M fan.
Yep. So yeah, I've been, it's my dad. Growing up, hell, like I said, I'm 49. We only had 5 or 6 channels.
I agree.
Growing up, we lived out in the country, and so most of the time, my dad wasn't a big college football fan, but if he did watch football, a lot of times Michigan was on because they're particularly local to where we grew up. But also, I could tune into channel 47, I think it was, and pick
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame games. Yeah. And when I started watching Notre Dame games, number 3 was there, and how could you not like Joe Montana?
Yeah, that's true.
And, so it just stuck, and I don't know if some of it had to do with I was rebelling against my father because he was somewhat of a Michigan fan. It's possible. But I've been a Notre Dame fan ever since I can remember anything about football. Notre Dame and Detroit. And so that's who I've followed.
Well, I'm a State fan through and through. I mean, my dog's name's Sparty. Okay, gives you an idea.
Okay.
But I do like Notre Dame. I always have. And especially when they got their own TV contract.
Yeah.
Because I could turn away from a Michigan game because I could have cared less and watch Notre Dame because very rarely did Michigan and Michigan State play at the same time.
Right.
So I could watch my state game. I could watch Notre Dame game, that type of thing. But an interesting thing today, I don't know if you have watched it, but Colin Cowherd had Chip Kelly on this afternoon and was asking about the problem or the potential of having a spring football season and then go back into fall. Because like California in particular, they basically said, we're not going to have football in California this year. There's just no way without the testing availability and without some type of inoculation or whatever you want to call it,
something
to prevent it from spreading. They're not going to allow fans in stands. And earlier this morning on Get Up, they were talking about it too, about the fact of Southeast Conference, Texas area. They want to play still, but in reality, the more you got into it and the deeper you dove into it, if schools aren't going to be able to allow students on campus, how are they going to be able to put players on campus? So,
well, I agree 100% because it's I don't know, does it turn into an ethical thing at that point? However, we do live in America where the almighty dollar speaks louder than just about anything else.
Yeah.
And the revenue that is created by college football, especially the bigger schools, even some of the smaller schools. Hell, I'm in Battle Creek. Kalamazoo's right down the road. Western Michigan passes hands.
I actually went to Western Michigan my freshman year of college.
Okay. All right. Well, they put a lot of fans in the stands there, and
Yeah.
they make a lot of money off of it. So they're not a huge school, but that's the name of the game. I mean,
Well, their budget runs off football. I guarantee you that. Their athletic budget. And
what was that?
Their athletic budget runs off that football program there.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And it is what it is. It's
it is a lot of money, and but I just don't see.
I agree. I don't think
I don't think they can make 2 seasons, and I can't remember the analyst that said this today, but if they try to push college football off to spring, and even if they went to an abbreviated schedule of only like 10 games,
yeah,
then you come back in the fall and you do a 12-game season. That means you're putting college kids into 22 games when the NFL only plays 16, and next year only going to be 17.
Yeah.
Are we concerned about the health of these kids?
Well, they're in college to get an education, so you know what I'm saying? I mean,
yeah.
I get what you're saying, and I agree, but I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit. The bigger question is, when do they get to study?
Exactly.
But no, I agree. The health and safety of them kids, that's a big part of it. And I don't know. The only way I see things happening is if they just cancel the season, and just it's in the record books as a big fat goose egg. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not even sure if the NFL or college football even canceled during World War II. I don't remember if either one canceled their seasons. I don't remember that.
Yeah, I don't know if they did, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm thinking they did, because so many young people went into the service back in those days too, and so I don't really know. But
maybe
college, number one, but number two is going to be the pros. And man, if they can't manipulate or find a way to run the NFL, even if it's without fans.
Well, see, that's what I was just going to say. A lot of this maybe depends on the development of a
vaccine. That's the word I was looking for.
No, a vaccine, but a 30-second test. If I can come over to your place and test you and know within a minute whether or not you're positive or negative or, asymptomatic, whatever, maybe, if we can get to that point before the season starts, before training camp starts and all that stuff, we test all these players on a daily, and, you don't have to worry about them spreading it to each other and so on and so forth, so maybe they do end up having a season with no fans in the stands, and they figure something out revenue-wise for the ball clubs and all that kind of stuff.
Well, they're still going to get their TV money, I guarantee you that, because TV is going to be clamoring to have something to put on.
Sure, absolutely.
So there's no doubt about that. But I agree with you about having some kind of a quick test, more so than just taking someone's temperature as they walk by you.
Right.
There's got to be a way a test develops so that, like you said, is someone asymptomatic or whatever.
Right.
Because
asymptomatic.
Yeah, if they are, you can't allow them around.
Right.
And I think they're going to have to open up rosters to be larger this year. And
they already do that? Isn't it 58 now?
Well, I think they went a couple more up on the practice squad.
Okay.
That's what it is. I think you can carry more people on practice squad, but I think you're only allowed to still have, 48 on game day? Because I think it used to be 55 total, and you were able to dress like 48, I think, for a game.
I can't remember exactly, but
me neither. But I know they're supposed to increase it by a couple 3. So you're right about that. But I hope they do. I really do, because it's going to be such a boring year if we have no sports whatsoever. And the only good thing I see about football is the fact that if they can open training facilities and they can keep people safe and not having tested positive for the disease,
Right.
then they should be able to turn around and fly to an opposing stadium and play a game without fans around, just players involved. Because during the regular season, most of the players, hell, they're spending 12 hours a day in a facility anyway. So anything else, they're going home and sleeping and eating.
Right.
So how much do they really get out in the public at that point? How much are their families out? I don't really know. But I sure hope it does. I hope we have football. I think a big thing that that I'm happy with, that I'm seeing, is the PGA's planning on going ahead with their golf tournaments starting in mid-June.
Okay.
And they're going to be played without spectators and whatnot. But they're still going to end up having to have volunteers there and different things around the golf course and things like that. And if they can maintain that and keep that into a controllable environment where nobody tests positive, I think that'll give hope that maybe by sequestering teams or keeping teams together in their practice facilities or whatever, may be able to help us out a little bit and move us a step closer to actually replaying games again. I really don't see us having fans in the stadium. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't see how they can do that.
Me neither.
I don't see how they'd be able to have fans in the stands this year unless, some genius jumps on the news tomorrow and says, hey, I invented this test, or I invented this vaccine, and whatever. But you know how that works. I mean, that takes forever to get approved, and
I don't know. I'm almost afraid that in an attempt to open the country, that they're going to short some steps. And I'm worried about that, because who knows?
Excuse me.
Who knows what could really happen if they force everybody to take a vaccine? And what if it has the opposite effect and it kills more people? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't really trust the government that well in order to say that they got our best interest at heart.
Yeah. Well, the other part to that is, like you said, if they open this up, I mean, I don't mean to get off topic here with football and everything.
Right.
If they open this up, I think it'll definitely, what's Michigan locked down till the end of this month, right? So let's say at the end of this month they say, okay, let's all go back to work. I think right there you're definitely killing the football season, because at that point there's still no treatment, there's still no tests, there's still no vaccine, there's still no cure. You're effectively going to create a very large second wave of this stuff,
right?
And they're gonna have no choice but to cancel all this shit. And
personally, I really think that Michigan's going to extend. I do not believe Whitmer wanted to make it the end of May anyways. It was the red legislature that said, no, we're only giving you 23 more days till the end of the month, and where she wanted to have a total of 70 days altogether.
I think Virginia's till the end of May now.
Yeah, there's a couple of states that have moved.
Yeah, so
I really think that they will extend it. I mean,
I hate it, man. I tell you what,
I do too. I'm bored to death.
I'm bored to death, cabin fever, absolutely. But I like living.
Well, yeah, I do too. I'll take an extra nap during the day or whatever the case may be, rather than being having my son see me in a coffin. So,
right, absolutely.
I mean, Christ, I'm getting up in age anyways. I don't want to waste this time.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Anyways, Don, anything else you got? Questions of me or anything like that?
When are we doing this again? This is a lot of fun.
Hey, I tell you what, we can get used to it. And now that I know this will work, I don't know for sure it's going to work yet, but I know that I'm recording this. If I can load this to YouTube, so I have the video chat go on with it, well, then we might be able to do some more with it. And if we do that, we'll keep in contact with either instant messaging or from email.
Sure.
And we'll both kind of come up with some plans. and questions we want to discuss, and maybe we can add that to it.
Sure.
You do not have to be a member of Zoom, but you could join if you wanted to. They have a free platform that lets you do it. The only thing with it is, and anybody that's listening to this when it comes down to Zoom, if you get just a basic membership, you're allowed to have up to 100 people join in a chat.
Oh, nice.
Or video chat, okay? But if you have more than 2, you're limited to 40 minutes at a time. In order to have unlimited time, you have to go to their pro plan, which is $15 a month, which that's not really that bad. And if I get everything that I want to get going off the ground, because I've also got feelers out for sponsors for this, a local Miller Lite distributorship and a couple others, a couple bars I wanted to broadcast from here locally.
Sure.
If I get
like Miller Lite
support from them, there you go.
I'm actually a Molson Canadian guy, so.
All right, you know. But if I get a little bit extra money, I might do that $15 one. But I'm still trying to get my webpage together, and you know, everything costs money. And
sure.
Being on retirement, it's like, if I get the stimulus check, it's going to be a lot better because I'll pay for a couple of these things and be done with it. But God knows when I'm going to see it.
Right.
So, you know, we'll go from that. But yeah, we will definitely do this. I added you as a contact for my email.
Okay.
So feel free to add me too.
I will.
Same with friends. And you can also join the Facebook group I have there, Dying Detroit Lions Fan.
I might be in it, but I'm not sure. I'll have to.
I don't think you are, because I check that every couple of days, and I'm still kind of low on membership. They're mostly just friends of mine that are in there now.
Okay.
But you're welcome to do that, because everything I do, I post there as well as in other groups.
Sounds good.
And, once I know that this is done, I'll turn around and I'll shoot you an email and give you the links to the YouTube account as well as the Anchor site. But Anchor for the podcast, you can listen to it on whatever thing you listen to podcasts.
Right.
I got 8 different, I've accepted at 8 different platforms, and the best one that I'm happiest for is getting on iTunes. So, you know, I'm happy to have that.
I used to do podcasts myself a few years ago, and I used to do some political podcasts actually, and I was on several different platforms, and iTunes was actually one of them also. Right. So yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. It feels really good.
Yeah, that one kind of gives you that feeling like you actually accomplished something when you get picked up there.
Yep.
So, all right, Don, sounds great. We'll end this for now. I will send you a quickie link or an email that has the links to both the YouTube channel and the Anchor dashboard, which you can pick up where you want to listen to that there.
All right.
But we'll stay in touch. Pay attention to what you see NFL news between now and draft day.
Sure.
And write down any questions you may have or something like that. If you could think of something, I want to try to always do at least 2 shows a week right now. And once the NFL preseason and season start, I'll probably do 3 or 4, because I want to end up doing a pregame show that'll either be like Saturday, maybe before a game.
Sure.
Unless I'm actually going to a game or going to a bar, then I'll do a pregame from there on Sunday. And I'll do a postgame show, whether it's right after the games on Sunday or on Monday, probably Monday, because I usually want to watch the late game and I got fantasy players playing, so I'll probably do it on Monday.
Right.
But, if you come up with a couple ideas about doing another broadcast between now and draft day, send me a quick message or something like that, and we can set it up.
Sounds great.
Because if this works, it's going to be great. And if it does, I'm going to suggest that you get the free Zoom account.
Okay. Because
that way we can add each other and make it easier to kind of like correspond rather than going through email and everything else.
Right. Absolutely. Sounds good.
Okay, Don. You have a good night. And everybody, thanks, Don, for coming in and being with us today for Dying a Detroit Lions Fan. And this is Rick Yaklin signing out. We'll talk to you later. Bye, Don.
Take care.